Hello. Wyatt Squiet Gafiniskis. Hello and welcome everyone. Bonjour. Look at this, a wonderful waterfall, 140, 150. This beautiful waterfall of people coming in. Thank you so much for joining. Of course, for this series, this is our first time in the webinar format versus workshop. So I'm pleased to see people are typing in the chat. That means that all of the settings are working. So please use the chat, say hello, and let's dive in. So my name is Jade Burrell. I'm part of the team at the Outdoor Learning Store. We are a North American-wide charitable social enterprise dedicating to getting kids outside for learning, including offering outdoor learning equipment, resources for educators and workers. We work closely with Take Me Outside, who are our partner in delivering this workshop today. And this is the virtual outdoor learning spring workshop series, so welcome. So for us, outdoor learning on Turtle Island, North America, Indigenous perspectives and ways of knowing are foundational to that. And so not only do we work towards that personally through the beginnings of a land acknowledgement, that I join you today, for example, from the traditional and unceded territories of the Snipes First Nation, the people of the bull trout. I sit in Skihikan, where the place where the ridgelines meet the water, and this place has also been cherished and stewarded and cared for, hunted, fished, travelled with and upon by the Secwepemc Shuswap Lakes people to the west, the Okanagan Silks to the south, and the Ktunaxa First Nations to the east. And that's the starting point. And I was so grateful to have built relationships with people from those First Nations in an attempt really recognize the truth of the devastation that's happened and continues to happen to some Indigenous people in this country and work hard to reconcile it. And so part of that is we do have these courses. So we've had the 4 seasons of learning, the Every Child Matters sort of pilot, and then people that are on the course now, 4 seasons of learning. We are opening up a new season. It's coming May 1st. And the actual learning registration will open May 1st. Learning will happen in the fall. But we've got some phenomenal speakers coming up, and we can share that Ariana Roundpoint is going to be one of them. We've got this amazing range of speakers who are going to join, and you can deepen your learning and commitment to truth and reconciliation through these virtual workshops, learning modules, and then virtual gatherings where we learn from directly from our Indigenous creators and knowledge keepers. And so if you do have the knowledge, we ask that you would share in the chat now your Indigenous acknowledgement, a place that's special to you, and where you're from. And if you don't have this knowledge, you can go to native-land.ca. It's a good starting point. It's not perfect, but there's an opportunity there to learn about the place and the territories that you're on. And over to you, Steph.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm going to put the link to
I'm very sorry, mute button.
Oh, no problem. And I'm just going to put the link to nativeland.ca into the chat. So if that's a new tool for you, then I encourage you to check it out. It's fantastic. It's worldwide. And my name's Steph. I'm the program coordinator at Take Me Outside. I'm so happy to be here. I'm representing Take Me Outside, but also our 70+ amazing outdoor learning partners. So I'm so excited to be here, and I hope everyone's getting used to the new webinar format. If this is your first one, then there's nothing different and new. And otherwise, I'll be helping monitor the chat and taking care of things. I'm joining you from Coast Salish territory on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, which is Kawatsin land, also home to Cowichan tribes, the Hulkaminam speaking people who have stewarded this land since time immemorial. And I'm very happy to be joining you from here. So Haichka, thank you. And really looking forward to also our 2 presenters today. So I'll pass it back to you, Jade.
Thank you so much, Steph. So quick Zoom 101, if you'd like to see closed captions, if that makes it easier for your comprehension from you, you can click that at the bottom. If you scroll up to the top right of your box, you can hit view and you can change that between the speaker view or gallery view so that you can see what's going on a bit better. We are recording this. But of course, none of your faces or anything will be in there in this format. We've got only a few more minutes of this intro and then two presentations. Ariana and Jacob will both be sharing, then time for a Q&A. So you can type questions into the chat or use the Q&A function, and we will try and collect those up and post them to Ariana and Jacob at the end. Then there are a short quiz and some prizes at the end, as always, so please stick around for the whole thing. You can access the recording. You'll get a discount code for any of the resources that we share in here. A certificate of attendance will come to you in an email tomorrow lunchtime at the latest. So please check your spam folder if you don't find anything, because it will be in there. Okay, I'm going to dive really in quickly. I just wanted to ask you a really quick poll, because we've been seeing people from all around, and so there's two questions in these introduction polls. It looks like people are in there. So question one is, where are you joining from? I know Canada and US are technically one continent, but we wanted to see if anyone was joining us from further afield. We'd start to see people coming around the world. I see someone's joining us from Asia. That's amazing. And then who are you? What kind of educator are you? I'm just going to leave this open for just another 5 minutes. 5 seconds. We've got nearly 400 people in the room, just so you know, typing away, listening, absorbing, and we'll close in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's share the results. Okay, so we've got a majority Canadian audience, some wonderful people joining us from the US. So lots of Turtle Island, thank you so much. And who are you? I've got every type of grade level of educator joining, early childhood, we've got admin, informal people, parent or family, and we've even got some people who aren't teachers but are just passionate about outdoor ed, so that's fantastic. So thank you so much for joining. It is really wonderful to see such a diverse audience. Okay, I just want to do a really quick intro. We've got some fantastic partners who really support in being able to make this and these free workshops. And if you're looking for resources or tools on our website, the link will be going in the chat in a moment. You can find specialty resources from any of our partners. So these are our international partners. These are our partners down from the US. And then we've got some really fantastic and larger, because we started in Canada, lots of fantastic Canadian partners. So for whatever you're looking for outdoor learning, we think we've got a one-stop shop covered and support and links to resource pages. Okay, it's Resources for Earth Month, so we're really excited. We've got lots of beautiful resources, including Sila in the Land, which one of the authors, Ariana, is going to share about very shortly. But here it is. It's time for the main event. I'm so excited to introduce. So Ariana is Wolf Clan of the Ganyan Gihaga people, born and raised in Akwesasne. Ariana has a strong passion for culture revitalization, important work that is needed in order to protect Indigenous knowledge and ways of life for the upcoming generations. A central part of this work is for Ariana to increase awareness of how traditions are being lost and the harm that's being done to Mother Earth. They're very timely for our Resources for Earth Month. She's a lot planned for the future and wishes to influence others to create change by spreading knowledge through her writing. She's going to discuss her incredible book, Sila in the Land, which I use in my teaching all the time. It's a combination of collaborations between herself and 2 other talented Indigenous authors and partnering organizations, including GreenLearning, who are other partner for this workshop. And this is a children's book that could help share perspectives on the land, which are common amongst First Nations, Metis, and Inuit communities. Our second guest today is Jacob. Jacob works with GreenLearning, and that is an environmental education nonprofit which creates free online education programs about energy, climate change, and green economy that engage and empower students to create positive change. Jacob's going to share about some free resources for Earth Month for grades 4 to 12. So you can take action on climate in your classroom. And so Over enough from me. I'm going to turn off, mute off, and pass it over to you, Ariana. Thank you so much.
So, Sego Zawagwego, Wandanola Yungyat. So, my original name is Wandanola. My English given name is Ariana. And I am a Mohawk woman from Akwesasne, Ontario. So, where I'm located is between America and Canada, quite literally, just a little island. And I'm here to share a little bit about Sila and the Land, a book that was co-authored, I want to say about 5 years ago now, 5 or 6 years ago. And it was actually brought to us by GreenLearning through another not-for-profit, Taking It Global. So this is the book. And it was actually one of the first books I'd ever been a part of. So it takes place following a little Inuit girl, Sila, and we are able to join her on her journey, traveling through the 4 directions and learning more about the connection that we have to the land and how important it is, especially now, how important the earth is, how critical her existence is. As we are very much a oral-based people, and all of our stories, all of our teachings, it is quite literally rooted in the earth. We learn how to pick medicines, we learn how to garden, and in those moments of gardening with our grandmothers, being present with our parents and our grandparents and our families were still are very large, with at least 9, 11 children in a family to help with these things. And Sila and the Land really captured what it is for a child to see the world as, but also for adults, for educators, and everyone else present who wants to learn about that, who wants to learn about what they can do. I found that with each moment that was shared with Sila became a lesson learned about what it is to be humble, to show the gratitude, to be present and mindful of what is actually being offered to us day in and day out. You know, we have the air, we have the waters, we have the earth, we have the skies, we have the sun and the moon, we have this balance. And in everything around us, we are taught how to hold on to that tradition, to that culture, to being forever grateful and to remember it. And I think I find that in the day and age of so much information at the tips of our fingers, I think we lose that connectedness with what's right in front of us in that moment, instead of thinking 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a day, a week, a month, a year ahead of us. And I've found in the past presenting this book to, oh my gosh, kids ranging from kindergarten all the way to grade 12 to teacher conferences. The book holds so much material that can be dissected, from what it is Sila is experiencing right down to the process that it took as an Indigenous author, as a Mohawk woman pursuing a career in the creative arts, in being able to build this platform and share our voices. And each one of us that worked on it, we all gave a part of ourselves that that we held on to for so long, that we kept hold of. Because when we're kids, we learn these stories and we have these stories to share. And I think to bring it all into a physical form, I guess, it was almost like immortalizing those parts of ourselves, those characters that we created, those moments that we shared, in gathering the information and reaching back into the oral culture, the oral tradition, as we were all, we all went back to our respective communities. We gathered the information from all of the, from a good majority of youth in our communities, just to be able to share that voice, to share the voice of the youth, to share the voice of the future that will take care of another 7 generations, that would be inspired to make the change now and to actually take up action. And I think the most fabulous and magical part of this book is the amount of kids I've got to experience light up and get a very new perspective on the book and where it can go and where it might have come from, if that makes sense. Their questions were just so Socratic that it helped me understand where we came from with the book at an even deeper level. And in all honesty, I think I'm really, really excited to share more of that with the rest of the world, just based off of what I've learned with these children and the new, I guess, the new perspective that our world can have, especially in our natural world. So, yes.
Thank you so much. That's so beautiful. Just before we move on, somebody asked how did you come up with the name Sila for your protagonist? Is that a long story?
It's actually so when we came up with her name, we kept it really close to one of the authors, as she's from Nunavut, and actually it has a story. So when we were looking for ideas and everything, we had gone into a bookstore and she had found a book, and the first passage that she wrote when we opened it was that the North is like the air conditioner for the world. So if the air conditioner breaks, I think we all know what happens to the rest of the house, especially on those really, really warm summer days. So that kind of stuck with us. And because of that, we allowed that that chance for her to amplify the voice of the North. And we kept it close to her home and what it was like where she grew up. And in the beginning of the book, that is what you see. You see Sila's homeland. And so when coming to that decision, we had to think of a name. And Sila is actually, it's the word, that's how they say land. So up north, she said that was their word for land. So we thought, what better than this little girl, this little girl named after the very thing that we are so joyous to have and to be grateful for. And it honestly, it just fit perfectly. So that's the story behind Sila's name.
That's so beautiful. We have a couple of francophone educators in the room who would be really excited to see a French version. Do you know if that's a possibility or if it exists?
It is actually a possibility. We kind of put a pause in the translation of the book. There were a couple other projects that had come up, but it is definitely a plan that's being revisited soon to have it translated into Mohawk, French, as well as the languages up north, so that they can be implemented into the schools.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I see hearts. People are excited about that. And for anyone who's not seen the book before, the way you describe the sentiment, but Sila goes on a journey, right? And she meets different beings along the way who share wisdom with her, right? And
Yes.
so that came from wisdom from multiple traditions shared as one voice.
Yeah, exactly. So during the brainstorming phase, it was really a question of, okay, what have we all heard? Where does everything start overlapping when we share our stories? Because a lot of our stories do overlap. A lot of our stories we can share with another, and it feels familiar in one way or another. So when we did that, it was like we were finding the same traits that we had grown up learning: humility, gratitude, forward thinking, remembering where we come from, our roots, making sure that we never forget that identity of ourselves, acknowledging that our role as educators, as keepers of knowledge, as the next generation carrying on, we are stepping up to a plate that brings about change. We cannot help but bring change one way or another. Just speaking about it is bringing change. So all of these traits, all of these lessons, we gave them physical form. And each being that Sila encounters is the physical form of a trait that we all hold, a lesson that we all hold, and a reminder of what it is to be an original people. So we, in Mohawk, the word is Ungwehunwe, and that is the original people of the land. And it is not just, Ungwehunwe people, it's not just confined to Mohawks, it's everyone, ranging from us to the Aztecs to like that, how broad it is. Everyone up north, everyone in the west, every direction. We are the Ungwehunwe, the original people of the world. So once we gave these traits, these lessons, and these stories physical form, it was, to me, it was amazing. It was amazing to see it come to light and to come forth in a way that could resonate with every age. I think I've had discussions about it with elderly people, with children, with my parents, with my sister, with high schoolers. High schoolers can be really daunting. And yeah. So it's I find whenever I read the book, it's like a gentle reminder of all of our stories and how that interconnectedness is like constantly in existence. And in all honesty, like, I have to thank GreenLearning for presenting that opportunity to taking it global. It gave us that chance to amplify not just Indigenous voices, but young female Indigenous voices. And I know what that did for me. I started in high school and now now I'm here. And sometimes it truly is amazing to just sit back and take in. So yes.
Oh, well, you so deserve all of the success and all of the applause for all of the work that you've put in. And I know that from chatting to you before, and I wish we could just talk for 5 hours, but maybe there's more
I
time.
know.
But the effort that went into that, the relationship building that you displayed to create that, the being able to create these characters that are so relevant and so personal. It's, every person I know who's read it, I've read it to my mum, who you know, found a completely different thing, or found a connection to rock from her childhood that was so different to the childhood I had. And it just these really beautiful moments of sharing intergenerationally and across all different sort of lifespans. So thank you so much.
I love that. I love hearing that. It's exciting.
So thank you so much for sharing. We're going to come back to you for Q&A at the end. But as you mentioned, GreenLearning were a massive part of getting the book published, and they also do some fantastic other work. So we'll come back to you in a moment. Thank you so much for sharing, and welcome you back, Jacob, if you're ready to share.
Yes, hello. Just give me one moment and I can get my screen going here. And that's coming through all right, just to double check.
That looks
awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Jade, and thank you, Ariana. That was amazing to kind of hear some of the process behind it. I should say I'm relatively new with GreenLearning in the last year, so I unfortunately wasn't able to be a part of the amazing process that was kind of bringing in and developing Sila in the land, but it's certainly something that we hold very dear here at GreenLearning, and that very kind of involved process. But today I'm going to be talking, and I'll do a little bit more of an introduction of GreenLearning, but today I'm going to be doing a bit of a kind of high level overlook of GreenLearning's education kind of programs that we have, especially with Earth Month in mind, really kind of focusing on opportunities for students to take climate action, students within the classroom, outside of the classroom, kind of all forms. But what I also want to say is just that GreenLearning is a education nonprofit, and we really focus in on focusing kind of energy, climate change, and green economy, with the focus on engaging students and really empowering them to take action. All of our programs, or the majority of our programs, we really try to kind of have them build up to students actually being able to take that action, especially kind of in the time of eco-anxiety and things like that. It feels like a very important presence to really be able to kind of have that tangible impact. And so before I get into things, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the land that I'm speaking to everybody from today. So I'm speaking today from what we presently call Hamilton, Ontario, but I'm also speaking from the traditional territory that's shared by the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. And I want to acknowledge that this land was acknowledged in the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement that was made between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. And as you can see on the map there, the little kind of red speck where I'm nestled kind of in this nice little pocket of land, being surrounded by these beautiful lakes, and being someone that kind of enjoys spending a lot of time in the outdoors. It's something that I kind of really try to internalize. And making sure to kind of acknowledge the sharing and caring that is being done like historically for this land, and also really acknowledging that protection and caring that's being done presently as well. And I really like the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Bell is kind of a teaching kind of process, in the sense of that one dish is really representing the one land that we all share, and the one spoon kind of representing that we're here sharing it, and we kind of have that equal responsibility that to care for the space that we're in. And so with that, while Ariana, I certainly can't speak to Sila in the land the same way that Ariana can. I can speak a little bit to kind of GreenLearning's supporting kind of programs and activities that we have that go alongside it. And so on our website, and I'll go to it in just a moment, and I guess I can say that as well, that I'm going to bounce a little bit between the presentation and the website, just kind of showing some things and highlighting some of our key resources. But on our website, our activities and sort of programs that go along with Sila and the Rand as like teaching resources really dive in or provide a little bit of kind of opportunity to extend some of those learnings that Sila is undergoing while she's talking and sort of speaking and connecting with these beings within the book. And so like just as an example, you can kind of see here, Caribou within the book gives Sila a lot of learning around giving thanks and gratitude and kind of expressing, but also sort of feeling those things as well. And so we have an activity that kind of guides learners and educators through facilitating some of that kind of oral storytelling and discussion around giving thanks and really kind of bringing that into the classroom. And I believe this program specifically kind of culminates in creating a gratitude board that you have up in your classroom space, kind of reminding the things that we have kind of in that moment. And so while I'm limited on time, I would love to kind of dive into a whole lot of things, but we have a few kind of amazing resources here. And so I'll just quickly kind of show, and this gives a bit of an idea of what our GreenLearning website sort of looks like. But the majority of our programs, we've got this sort of introduction page here. This video goes a little bit into kind of discussing Sila and the land itself. As well, all of our programs within GreenLearning's website, we have curriculum connections, and I apologize for those that are joining from outside of Canada. These are curriculum connections largely for Ontario and Alberta, but we've got a kind of a few others as well. But it does kind of lay out some of the program objectives and things like this. An amazing place to go and get a copy of Sila and the Land. And something that we're really excited to kind of have on our webpage as well is a recording of Ariana reading the book, which I got to read to, listen to another time today. I quite enjoy it, as well as kind of providing a little more insight, similar to kind of what Ariana was talking to today about the kind of the process that went on behind. But with that, I am going to kind of shift into some of GreenLearning's Earth Month resources that we're really excited to kind of share with you. And so the first one is we're launching our Earth Month storyboard. So we're very excited about this. And so what this is it kind of takes learners and educators through a bit of a guided journey towards creating, taking climate action. And so this culminates in creating an action project with your learners, which you can link to one of our 5 challenges, which I'll talk to a little bit about in a minute as well. But this is organized in sort of you're going on a trail kind of situation. So you're starting at the beginning of the trail and there's different kind of checkpoints as you're going along. And then when you get to the end, there's an awesome kind of certificate for completing. As well, you can sign our Earth Month guest book and sort of put your name in the list of having kind of completed some of these activities and participated. But all of these activities, I can show you the storyboard here as well. But all of these activities are really kind of linking and working towards taking that climate action. And so this is what this storyboard looks like itself. And so when you're ready to go, you can click begin. Oh, I'm getting raided by my cat, apologies. And so you start off here at the trailhead. And this is kind of a good spot. We have an activity that's set out here and describes a little bit of what this storyboard sort of is. And when you're ready to go, you can hit let's go. And this gives an introduction activity called our nature mandala activity, or ripples of change, which is just facilitating a little bit of conversation about eco-anxiety and kind of getting outside and creating these nature mandalas in a way to kind of add some action and conversation to that kind of eco-anxiety piece. And just briefly, this shows you our storyboard kind of splits into 4 sections, and you can start exploring either with learners independently or kind of using this as a teaching resource. And so those kind of initial actions are some of those easy ones. So for example, ones that take a little bit kind of less time, and you can use this as like that kind of stepping stone as you're going through. And so here's just some photos of nature mandalas that we've seen in the past that are a good way to kind of get outside and get that, at least the conversation sort of started. And alongside our storyboard, it's the culmination of a lot of GreenLearning's programs kind of being put into a bit of a creative, gamified way of kind of progressing through. But I do want to highlight some of the resources that we have going on. Oh, and I see, can these links be shared? I meant to say at the beginning, this will be passed along tomorrow, I believe, or after this presentation. And I have got all of these links embedded within the presentation itself. So it should be very easy to kind of access these things. So don't worry too much about trying to track them down. This is something that will be passed along after. But our Ripple Effect program is focused on kind of protecting oceans. And so this is a partnership that we are very excited about with OceanWise and taking it global, kind of within the Wave of Change program. And this is a bilingual, Wave of Change, sorry, is a bilingual program. And so we're very excited because we have a lot of our activities within this have been translated into French. So this is something that you could bring into the French classroom. And it's very kind of like that one-to-one activity as well. And so same sort of layout with our other ones we have here is we've got our curriculum connections, some of those kind of overall objectives. This one specifically, I should say, has an amazing kind of plastic cycle interactive, which starts to kind of look at where we find plastics in different areas of the water body or watershed. Our United Nations connections, and then you can start to see where we have these different activities that are within that program. So these here are all of those. This is that Ripples of Change Nature Mandala activity I mentioned. But you can see we've got different programs. It tells you a little bit of how much time you could expect for implementing that in your classroom and kind of what grades and ages and things like that. And I'm just going to return to our presentation here. And so the next one I want to talk about briefly is our Decoding Carbon program. And so the Decoding Carbon program kind of takes learners on a bit of a climate policy quest. So the Decoding Carbon program really focuses on climate policy and really introducing this to students. And this is a little bit more focused for the older age groups, largely in the kind of 9 to 12 range. And what it is, it's really getting students kind of ask those questions and answer the questions of what is climate policy? What is policy itself? How does it impact me? How can I kind of enter into that conversation and have a bit of an understanding, get my word out there and be able to kind of contribute to these sort of things? The Decoding Carbon program, we feel one of the really great strengths is throughout the program and these different activities is students are working up to kind of proposing their own climate policy for Canada or any kind of other equivalent. And we've got some great simulators that allow students to sort of practice this, to kind of almost implement their policy and see what sort of impacts that it's having. So it's a great learning resource for students to kind of to go alongside with some of that more theoretical learning. And so alongside that, the Decoding Carbon program also has a great kind of spark climate conversation piece, which goes into discussing the disproportionate effect of climate change on different communities, especially with First Nations communities. And specifically, this one is talking about the impacts on the Arctic and the Indigenous people from the Arctic. And so this is a kind of an opportunity to bring this conversation and sort of facilitate some of these maybe more difficult conversations and have some kind of resources to support that. And so I mentioned challenges earlier, but all of our programs, or at least 5 of our programs, kind of accumulate up to submitting for a challenge. And these challenges are framed around taking a really meaningful kind of climate action within your school. And so for the Decoding Carbon one, like I mentioned, it's building up to proposing your own climate change policy for Canada. And so there's a little wiggle room, especially around if kind of looking to propose for specific areas and things like that. But it's really getting kind of learners thinking about creating that own policy and seeing what it's like from the kind of policy maker's perspective. And so I'll say all of our challenges are due this year or for May 5th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. And we have multiple different resources that are available in French. I can kind of quickly answer as I saw it, and I can highlight maybe that a little bit further into the presentation as well. So the next one that I just want to take a few moments to speak to is our Eco 360 program. And so the Eco 360 program is really centered around plastics and kind of plastic waste and plastic in the environment. And it's really kind of reimagining an economy in a space that's free of plastic waste. And so we feel that this program's a really great mix of kind of science and looking at policy, looking at things like ocean policy, a little bit similar to the Ripple Effect program, and really focusing in on that kind of circular economies and looking for that long-term change that's going to be kind of fixing this plastic problem that we're facing. And so this program here accumulates to our Eco 360 challenge. And so what this is we have students are pitching kind of an innovation plan that's going to be eliminating plastic waste from the environment. And we've received some pretty creative and amazing things in the past, from plans of creating weighted sleep blankets using plastic waste that's being collected. And it's kind of a really awesome opportunity to really see the kind of creativity and ingenuity of students shine. And so the next one I want to talk about is our Flood Ed program. Flood Ed program is really interesting in the sense that flooding has really quickly become one of the largest kind of natural disasters in terms of property damage and kind of cost and impacts in that sense. And so we feel it's really important to get it kind of get the education out there, especially around flooding resilience and planning for kind of preparedness for flooding. And this is one that looks, especially flooding, looks very different kind of depending on where you're living as well. So our program really tries to kind of look at it from that wide perspective and dive into some of those major sort of floods and looking at like preparedness and creating a preparedness plan, as well as looking at maybe some kind of smaller versions of that, like things like stormwater runoff, and talking about how we're collecting things like pollutants off the ground and really getting a bit of an understanding of kind of the stormwater and how it moves around our schools. And so this program has a lot of really great ways to kind of take action. And this is one of my favorites in the sense of really getting outside. And one of them, as just an example, is adopting one of the storm drains that's near your school or kind of in those spaces. And it's kind of creating a bit of ownership, and students are getting a bit of awareness of what's going on around them, looking and understanding how water kind of moves around the spaces in their kind of school, their community, and just kind of really working towards increasing that awareness. And so just for the sake of time, I'm going to kind of keep cruising along here. But this Flood Ed program, the challenge that it accumulates up to is having either sort of two ways in creating a flood plan and really being prepared, especially if you're living in an area where flood is a real risk for you and your community. But another one that is creating some flooding resilience. And what that could look like is installing rain barrels or rain gardens and really kind of taking action within your community. And so, shifting towards renewable energy, we have our ReEnergy program. And so the ReEnergy program is really kind of in place to prepare students to be able to use the renewable energy systems that are kind of coming out, but also to prepare them to develop and create and kind of engineer this new technology. And so it's really focused, this program is really focused on kind of design and modeling and things like this, and gaining that understanding of renewable energy systems through kind of building them and creating them. And so the list that you can see on the left there, solar car, wind turbine, things like that, are all different models and kind of work plans that we have within this program, where students are able to build these things and really get an understanding of how that works. And so you can find these all within the website. And I guess I'll jump back over just to show a little bit as well. But again, very similar. We've got a bit of an introduction video, some curriculum connections, looking at the objectives of that program, those kind of main goals. As always, we have the applicable United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And then we can start to see kind of, we've got some of these background knowledge, learning about renewable energy, and then starting to kind of build on that and working towards building things like a solar oven. And here's a good example again of some of those. While we don't have all of our programs translated into French, we do have some of them. And those can actually be, I can show you kind of quickly here. If you go to our resources section of our page, you can actually sort by subjects, you can sort them by French, and I've actually recently learned that if you actually just search French, it will kind of provide all of our different French resources as well. And just looping back. So another strength of our ReEnergy program is provides, it's similar to kind of the Decoding Carbon. We've got a few different simulators that kind of can help break down some of those bigger concepts that are a little bit more difficult to kind of wrap your head around, and stimulating that kind of direct interaction and getting a bit more understanding. And so, as you might guess, the ReEnergy program, the challenge kind of accumulates and ends in having students really develop and create kind of one of these working models and building one of them. And so students, while we've got some kind of suggestions here, we've received many different things in the past, from a solar pizza oven and being able to watch the kind of pizza get cooked to completion, as well as we've had students in the past retrofitted golf carts with electric vehicle kind of capacity and everything like that. So it's really another opportunity for that kind of student-led inquiry. And so the last program I'm going to talk about is our Energy Revealed program. And so this is really looking at kind of energy efficiency and really being kind of energy education in that sense, and trying to kind of increase awareness and changing those behaviors. And so the strength, and one of my favorite parts of this program is our energy calculators. And so again, I apologize to those that are outside of Canada, but you might find some kind of great uses for these, at least in a little bit of student learning. But what these are is we can click on one. Let's go with Alberta. And so I can go down here, and let's say that I have a 60-watt light bulb, and I'm going to be using it for 2 hours today. And when I click calculate energy, this will do kind of an automatic calculation of how many kilowatt hours I'm using in that year. It'll also give me how much greenhouse gases that I'm using. And the reason that is province and territory specific is we've got a little bit of kind of understanding and explanation of the breakdown of where the different sources of energy are coming from within that area. And so you're getting that kind of really accurate information, as well as a cost. So you can kind of start to, at the maybe not so exciting part of this learning, but starting to kind of raise student awareness and teach them about this kind of concept as well. And this one here, the challenge that we have for Energy Revealed program is centered around facilitating a school Earth Hour. And this can be outside of the one that we kind of traditionally runs in March, but this is having your students really take that ownership of kind of creating and facilitating an Earth Hour. And we find the most exciting part about this is that we have a lot of success in connecting students and teachers with the energy management departments of their school boards or their schools. And many schools actually have live kind of energy monitoring tech. So you can get a really, really accurate readout of what you were saving within your school. And we found many people don't think that they have these kind of things that are facilitated either at their school or at their board, but they're there. And a lot of the times it kind of just takes that reaching out and trying to get a little bit more information. And so the last thing that I want to kind of leave with today is that we have some webinars and events that are upcoming. One of the ones is on pictured here is the one today, but we've got a few things, and it's a great place to kind of keep an eye on what's going on at GreenLearning, as well as sort of looked at what's happened in the past. So coming up, we have an event with Ocean School where we're talking a little bit about plastics and upcycling on April 20th. But if you're also interested, you can kind of sort by different areas and start looking at previous events. And many of these we've uploaded kind of the recording or things like that. So you can, we might be focused for teachers and a little bit of professional development, or it could be one of those sort of student facing lessons as well. And so with that, I just want to say thank you very much, especially in the evening like this. I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to learn a little bit more about these sort of things. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My email is on the screen there, and I'm sure it'll be kind of passed alongside this presentation as well. If you're kind of want to really feel connected to those like-minded educators out there and want to kind of have an opportunity to share the exciting things you're doing or your students are doing, we really want to push kind of checking out our social media channels, especially our Facebook page. We're trying to make that really kind of interactive space and a collaborative space for educators. But with that, thank you very, very much. And we can kind of get into our question section.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jacob. So wonderful. And if Ariana can come back in with us too, we shall pose. So exciting. So one of the big questions that's come up a few times from Tina, Barbara Jean, and Monica is talking about younger learnings and about how resources could be adapted for preschool, pre-kindergarten or kindergarten kids. And the other thing for me is sort of the resources that you've spoken about, these sort of really like action-based projects, and then this sort of storytelling, moralistic, sort of diving deep into connection to the earth pieces. I feel like they really complement each other. And I wondered if you might have ways that aren't like the specific programs you have, or the book that could connect into a younger audience that's more maybe just sort of introducing them to the concepts. Maybe Ariana, you could share first if you have any ideas. If not, I can share the ones that I've done.
So I have a couple, only because this is, I guess this part of the learning is something I had to learn through the different presentations. And what what I've learned so far is, in all honesty, I think it really is going back to that oral tradition, sitting with the kids, having a conversation with the kids, not speaking at them, but allowing their questions to drive that conversation and that topic is what really, really ingrains what we're trying to relate to them, what we're trying to teach them, what we need them to learn. And I find once you have the kids driving the conversation, all you're doing is prompting them with the resources that Jacob showed, with the pictures in Sila and the Land, with the story of inspiration that came from where this is coming from. We prompt them to think on their own, and we prompt them to think outside of that box that, in my opinion, becomes all too familiar for aging minds. So when the book would be brought into a classroom, especially you get about like from like kindergarten to like grade 3, 4, you get the students, it's really hard to grasp their attention. And then on top of that, try to get them to remember something or to relate to something. I found having that conversation and always keeping it a conversation, you allow them to be a part of it. You allow them to feel heard and to feel included in it instead of feeling excluded and feeling on the outside of it as they're looking into what they're trying to learn. And once we have those children in that state, they begin to offer solutions. They begin to offer insight. They are the ones that begin to turn the machine into the desired dream that we had. You know, it all fits in together at one point or another. So in all honesty, I think one resource that ought to be, utilized is our ability to listen, and never to listen to form that answer, but to listen in order to hear, and to hear what it is that they have to share, what they have to say. Because we can't say, okay, kid A is going to be saying this, they're going to be proposing this. We know it's not going to work. I think that's the beauty of not knowing what's going to come out of a kid's mouth. So to me, that is one of the more critical learning resources. And then everything that we're offering here today is just something for you to build upon what you already possess. And it's to actually listen and be present in that, and not, no matter how old the child is and yourself, we cannot hold ourselves higher as an educator and a learner. We're always going to be learning. I learn every single day. These kids teach me every single presentation and every single moment I get with them. So from me, and I'm no teacher, I haven't gone down the paths a good lot of you have gone down, but this is something that I've come to learn and enjoy and use in practice. So, yes.
That's beautiful. And I have to say again, if you haven't read the book, the way Ariana and the other authors gave voice to rock, gave voice to wind, gave voice to beings that perhaps don't sometimes in our common perception have a voice, to me that gives an understanding of anyone, and all should have a voice, and that your voice matters, whatever you look like, wherever you've come from, however you're perceived, your voice matters. And so I think your book is really a beautiful introduction as a story time circle book to inclusion and connection. So just from a personal thing of using it. So thank you for that, because it's a really special moment. Jacob, do you think that some of the GreenLearning activities or programs can be scaled for different age groups, or perhaps some of the concepts within it can be introduced simply as a prompt for younger students?
Yeah, certainly. And I should say, like, initially, actually, Sila and the land and the activities that GreenLearning has that kind of go along with that and kind of in complement to the book, that's kind of an area especially where it lines really well, like with that early childhood kind of educator focus. And like Ariana is saying, is really focusing, like facilitating that two-way kind of conversation and two-way interaction. And so a few of those activities kind of incorporate things like that more play-based learning and kind of getting outside. And many of them, I should say, are very kind of focused on physically getting outside and really kind of changing that space. And then kind of providing some opportunities for students to be sharing and bringing something from their own lives and sharing their kind of personal history and things like that. And so, like, specifically for the Sila and the land resources, that's definitely one of the areas in our like resources and programs where it kind of fits closer with that the younger age group. The majority of our programs are for the ages like kind of grades 3 to 12, 4 to 12. But that's like, especially when we're looking at the curriculum connections, there's a lot of just that like kind of individual components or maybe an opening activity. There's a lot of things where there's a lot of flexibility there, especially if you're kind of looking to kind of have those conversations and activities with students. But that makes a little more creativity kind of involved, I guess, in adapting it. But all of our programs, when you go to the website, it'll list kind of what the targeted sort of age group is. And then there's lots of kind of room for interpretation from there for sure.
Beautiful. And I'm seeing so many beautiful things in the chat about things starting from conversations and about them being invested in cleaning up things because of the starting of listening to them, and about reciprocal relationships, which I feel like is so connected to Indigenous perspectives. And also, if we can have two-eyed seeing, that, you know, we have to give. If we take, we have to give. There has to be movement back and forth. We have to care for Earth. So this is just so beautiful to see this topic have so many kind of diverse places that you could come back to it. I did want to share one point with you that somebody shared in the chat, and it's a little bit out there, but or not on the topic, but I think it's an important thing to share, and I wanted to ask your perspectives on it. But they asked that oral learning, they said it's not very inclusive to the deaf community. I'll read you in their words. My great-grandmother passed down her knowledge to my mother through actions and demonstrations of stories and everyday learning of the Osage. Maybe another term could be used to be more inclusive, as there are many deaf and hard of hearing in the Indigenous community who have also had traditional teachings from their families. So thank you for your words. And I wonder, how do we make language more inclusive? Do you have any thoughts on that, Ariana? No, it's a tough one. Oh, I can't quite hear you. I'm not sure if we have a slight delay.
I think I double clicked it. No, it is a really tough question, in all honesty, to answer, because I think in my opinion, it's one of those things that we ourselves don't understand unless we go through it. And so for that question to be brought up, it has that personal touch, right? And in all honesty, like, I can say like that has never crossed my mind. And again, like, it has broadened the horizon to where this book could go. And I can almost see it as to have the story animated in a way, to expand our digital creativity and to utilize what we have at our fingertips, like we said, to make it where, you know, they are able to see it and, you know, feel it in a different way, to experience the story in a different manner. Because who's to say that there isn't a child out there that, you know, instead of hearing it read to them, instead it is just it's a movie played out to them, maybe not with words, but I think we have demonstrated in the past that we don't always need language to share something, to share our stories. And I think, I know personally, my grandfather is kind of hard of hearing, and we are a people, an adaptable people. And as an adaptable people, I think we're finding new ways to expand how we want to share things and stories with another. And I have to say, it's definitely something that can now be brought up and worked on.
Beautiful. And there are some people saying, singing loudly helps, or using smell, maybe taking pictures of the book or using it as a slide deck, having the video recorded, and then asking someone to sign it, and videoing that could be helpful. There's so many beautiful things. And so I think we only learn if we're honest together about how we can improve. And so I really think that's a really interesting thing. So we don't have it yet, but we can look at how we could do that in the future. So that's beautiful. Thank you for your question. Okay, we've run out of time. It's 5:02. Here's what I'd love to do. I would love to do the quizzes really quick for you, and maybe Ariana and Jacob could stay around for just like 4 more minutes, and then maybe if there was 1 or 2 extra questions, we could answer them. But I really want to give people the opportunity. I just want to say thank you again. If you do have to go, I super understand. Ariana, your beautiful love for Mother Earth comes forth in the book, in the way that you speak, and in your being, and I'm so grateful for the resources that you've created and the work you've put in there and continue to do. And Jacob, as a voice of being able to share how many incredible programs GreenLearning are working on, how diverse they are, how connected to curriculum, how supportive they are for teachers in that mainframe teaching, bringing those together. I feel so grateful to have both of you here today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for happy to be here. Very excited to be here. Very.
Well, 400 people are saying thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you in the waterfall. So that's amazing. But here we go, everyone. Prizes are coming up in just a second. This is the first of the spring workshop series. There's more coming. We've got Megan Zenny talking about investigations. Jacob Rodenberg, Nature Somalia, talking about nature activities, resources for World Oceans Day with all of our water education experts. We're talking about race and nature with Jacqueline Scott on May 23rd. We're learning about nature journaling on May 30th. And in June, we've got 2 fantastic Indigenous centered workshops on two-eyed seeing and animating outdoor learning using finger puppets. So that actually could be a really good one for what we just discussed as well. But here we go. This is going to involve a little bit of searching on the internet. So if you are wanting to win prizes, maybe you should open a browser next to your Zoom. And it goes like this. There are 4 $25 gift cards, 2 to the outdoor learning store and 2 to take me outside. The first 2 are for the outdoor learning store. And the first question is, first correct answer into the webinar chat. Steph's ready to collect in the background. How many, on the Outdoor Learning Store website, outdoorlearningstore.com, how many different themes of learning do we categorize our resources in? How many themes of learning are there on the Outdoor Learning Store?
Some guesses starting to come in here.
Oh,
I haven't seen it yet. Oh, I did. Oh, there it is. When so many answers come in, it's easy to get lost. Lords, floors, with the correct answer being 5.
fantastic.
And with our new webinar format, I'm not sure. I will try to message you. And for the first 2 with the OLS gift cards, let us know whether you want Canadian or US dollars. The TMO gift cards don't fall into that same option. So
beautiful. Yes, Flores, Lords, if you can send Steph a message, whether you like Canadian or US dollars, congratulations. Okay, question 2, another bit of a search for you. In the outdoor learning store, we have a basic backpack. Do you know, can you tell me what the main ingredient of the basic backpack is?
Lots of good guesses here. And I see that, will we take recycled plastic as an answer?
I think we will. Let's
Okay.
take it.
Okay, Heidi Colburn, congratulations, recycled plastic. Pop bottles if you want to be really specific, but we'll take it. And good guesses, everybody. And so Heidi, reach out.
Exactly, recycled pop bottles specifically. So that's fantastic. And you can put all your goodies, outdoor learning goodies like Sila and the land in there for sure when you're heading out. Okay, question 3, Take Me Outside related. Can anyone tell me which date was Take Me Outside Day in 2022, last year? What date was Take Me Outside Day on?
Including the day, it looks like we are hoping for. Maybe you participated.
I think Brooke Reel can have it. October 19th, yes. It's also part of Take Me Outside Week. Amazing free outdoor learning activities and resources direct to your inbox and for your class to participate virtually. Please absolutely make sure you check it out because their offerings are phenomenal. Okay, last question for you. What languages can you participate in the Take Me Outside Learning Challenge in? Which languages are possible? Oh, I see it.
Yeah, Cezanne Alutas, French and English. Thank you. You are on it. And for folks who are messaging me, please include your email for the winners, these 4 winners. That would be very helpful to keep track of you. Congrats. And thank you to everyone who's answering. There's a huge amount of answers coming in.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Yes, English and French will take me outside of this at the moment. There are some really fantastic different language options as well in the outdoor learning store for different resources, so sign in. Okay, I'm going to dive back in. Thank you so much. If you do have to go, again, send Steph your email and we'll have gift cards to you in the next few days. But I just wanted to dive into 2 more questions before we close up here today. And a quick one, Jacob, for GreenLearning, are the GreenLearning contests for Canadian residents only?
That is a great question. Yes, it is open to Canadian residents only. We would love to receive stuff from everybody, but unfortunately, the prizes are only available to Canadian residents, and not Quebec because of their kind of like laws around that sort of thing.
Okay, good to know. Thank you so much. And one other question is the Earth Month game at GreenLearning sounds amazing. What do you think about a grade 5 classroom? Would they be able to complete the activities by the May 5th deadline?
Yeah, so I typed a response back, but this is it's a good one to answer. So we suggest there's like basically those kind of 4 levels, and we suggest your class does like one sort of activity from each, and that's in the sense of like building up that understanding and like student learning to the point where they're kind of able to take on one of those projects. So if you're really kind of hoping to do that, or maybe you have one of those projects in mind, I would suggest maybe like looking at that challenge specifically and kind of seeing where your students' learning is at, because you might find that they have you've already kind of done or talked about some of these concepts. And so that kind of process might look a little bit like you've already kind of taken some of those steps. So there's definitely lots of opportunity. And many of those are kind of either one classroom activity or maybe like over kind of 2 periods or something like that. So there's certainly still lots of time to get it done, but it is a little bit of a tighter time frame for sure. I can understand that.
Thanks, Jacob. A couple of people just asking questions. Recording and access to the certificate coming in a follow-up email to you tomorrow. Check your spam if you don't have it by lunchtime. Ariana, I'm going to ask you the last question, and it's a one that's come up in sort of different various guises. But if there's one thing that you would share with your educators for Earth Month to take to their class, one piece of advice for land-based learning or connection, what would one thing you would like to close with to send us on our merry way today? You close with to send us on our merry way today.
I'll have to keep it quick. My computer's about to die, but I will say that if there's one thing that I wish for everyone who joined today to constantly be open to everything around you, constantly be open to the people around you, as each and every one of you have taught me something. With your brief that put on this brilliant panel, I have learned something new. And just like I think one of the chats said, we're forever learners, okay, constant. So everyone walking here today, I think, should walk away with the knowledge that they should be proud that they are part of the action being taken. They are proactive, and they should know that just joining here today was one step further than most would take. And it is a brilliant step in itself. And to be proud of that, it is something. And something is always better than nothing. So yeah, we'll go to everybody who did listen.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to end it there and send everyone out. We're so grateful for those that you came, as Ariana said. End it there. Sorry, we have a slight delay, so I think we had a bit of squiggly stuff, but I'm going to close the webinar and say thank you so much for joining. Good night, everyone. Take care. Yes, it. Wait.